Wednesday War College. I'm here with Kyle Clement, who is a case facilitator and manager for the DeLorean Fathers. He's the right-hand man of Father Ripperger, literally his right-hand man for all things spiritual warfare. And we're talking about the fact that a Catholic bishop over in Chur, Switzerland, is no longer, doesn't believe in the devil, really, is getting rid of the office of exorcism. Kyle is explaining to us about a solemn session back in 2005 where the non-believing bishop sent a psychiatrist. And Kyle, if you can pick up that story right from the top, please.
Okay, so it's 2005. The scene is Deep South Texas. The location is a diocese where the bishop was quite skeptical, and this did help shift his perspective on this whole area. And he does have two functional exorcists in the diocese as we speak. But he was new. He was very, very skeptical. Wasn't taught any of this in seminary. And he had asked a psychiatrist friend of his, a confidant in whom he trusted, to attend a solemn session and to give him a report. So in this solemn session, the psychiatrist, Catholic psychiatrist, very close friend of the bishop, is attending the session. The energumen is a ex-Santero, which is a Santeria priest, synchronistic priest, who was a practitioner, a wizard, a magus, if you will. And some things had happened to him, and he had a conversion, and he was seeking to get out of his agreement with the particular demon, and he was possessed. So in this particular solemn session, this was the third day of 3. First day was pretty slow. Second day, few manifestations, a little bit of shape-shifting, but nothing really definitive. And these sessions are followed by conversations between the priest, very holy man, a very simple priest, very holy, and this psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist was giving the modern line that everything can be determined and explained by either medical or psychological phenomenon, a particular psychosis. Everything is diagnosable through modern psychology. And the priest was very charitable, listened to him, deferred, doesn't agree with him, but just listens and simply gives back the church tradition. A lot of St. Thomas, a lot of Thomistic psychology and the understanding of the human person. So on the third day, this particular energumen began to levitate. And so he was about 3.5 feet off of a table, flat out, and he's levitating. And I can recall very vividly the priest is looking under the energumen in the space between the table and the energumen. He's looking at the psychiatrist, and he said, "Doctor," he said, "what do you call this particular psychiatric phenomenon?"
Wow.
There's no answer. There's simply no answer.
Yeah, I hope you reported that to the bishop. Well, I obviously did.
Right. And so it leads to, and then providentially, these cases always end up this way. There's a deeper conversion. And so the psychologist insisted on attending, and then he takes up doing fasting and penance for the energumen, and he's present at his ultimate liberation about 6 months later. And so that psychiatrist had a deep and profound conversion experience. And then the bishop also, as a result of this report, then the bishop began to do adoration and prayers for the energumen by name. So these are real game changers. These are moments of conversion. And so what you look for is you look for this bishop, and you look for this new bishop in Phoenix. You look for these guys. They will be brought to a moment where they can either yield to the truth or they can become obstinate. And so this is the path of conversion. And so you pray, thanks be to God for these ongoing moments. The bishop in Phoenix has his own backstory, just a tremendous amount of suffering, a tremendous amount of dysfunction. You pray for him that this moment that he realized through these things that this is not the answer, to turn to God, to turn to Christ, and to embrace the nobility of his office as Prince of this church as a sacred trust, not as a way to reconfigure the church in his own image or in his own desire. the errors of the clergy will become more and more egregious, just like the errors of society are becoming more and more egregious and more apparent. We touched on child sacrifice. We touched on this as becoming a political issue. I think we need to speak truth. Just speak truth every chance you get. Told the truth. Understand that in the coming chastisement, this is a time for conversion. The demon militates to absurdity. He militates to a point where anyone can see this and say, that's simply not right. We've even had prelates in California, a very popular prelate, say that, hell is a concept, it's not a place. This is against doctrine and dogma, and it doesn't matter if that mouth is under a mitre or on top of a blue collar. It's either speaking truth or it's speaking falsehood, and we have to call it out. We, as Catholic men, are the last bastion of calling out truth and bad actors and saying, what you're saying is inconsistent with tradition. What you're saying is inconsistent with our faith. What you're saying is inconsistent with Jesus Christ. By the same token, we have to recognize truth no matter what mouth it appears in.
Amen.